Thank you very much, Eric, and welcome. I hope you enjoy my presentation. It's good that we've already seen a lot of AI applications in aviation, so hopefully I can still keep you interested. So, Daedalean, who are we? Well, we're still a pre-revenue company, but we've been operating since 2016, I believe, and we're roughly 150 people, a little bit more than that. So we're pretty well past the startup phase. We just need to certify a system so we can actually sell it. So first thing we wanted to do was to support the aviation autonomy and try to introduce machine learning, which was something that we were good at. And we looked at how can we do this in a way that's going to be easy to adopt by the aviation world. So what we looked at was to use computer vision to support the human pilot in VMC operations. So we're talking CS-23, CS-27, low risk operation where the pilot is still expected to ultimately take the responsibility of making the decision, but we wanted to support him. So we looked at these first three different applications. Where am I? Where can I fly? And where can I land? So where am I is basically using looking down camera to detect where we are. So this is the visual positioning system. We've heard some talks this morning about the current state of the world. And as some of you may know, I think it was last week, the Eastern Finland Airlines announced that they were reverting back to use radio-based navigation because of the GPS denial and GPS spoofing. So this is a real problem that we believe a system like this could solve. It requires visual line of sight to the terrain, but it's purely based on the systems you have on the aircraft. Doesn't rely on any ground-based or satellite-based approaches systems. So together with this, if we put the camera pointing forward and we train a neural network to detect an object, then we can show that we can detect aircraft flying around. Now, as you know, most aircraft flying around, they're required to have transponders or ADS-B equipment that declare their position, but not all of them have. And there is some non-cooperative traffic that can't be detected by those systems. And the pilot is still required to take a look at these. Our system, just trained on images of aircrafts, is actually capable of detecting other types of objects in the air. So it generalizes to whether it is also operating in a domain. As we feed it data, as we know in AI, we can improve the model to detect more and better. I'll come back to this later on when talking in more detail about certification. So the visual landing guidance, something that we've already seen a couple of times, different applications of this. In this case, it's just training the neural network to detect runways and then provide an ILS-based guidance, an ILS-like guidance to the pilot so that they can safely land. One other potential application is just using the down-facing camera to continuously monitor the terrain so that we can try and find a landing site that is safe, not just for the people or the asset that is flying, but also for anyone that's on the ground and doesn't want to get a little drone on their heads. One other application that we've recently been investing quite a lot in, and this is really important for Switzerland, where we're based, because of all the cable cars in the ski resorts, is being able to detect wires and pylons. So in this case, same thing, same type of application. We train the neural network to detect different kind of feature in the image. So all of this, how do we certify this? So this is our first, one of our first products. We have the Pilot Eye for fixed wing general aviation, and the Illumina Vista is our product for rotorcraft for CS27. This is actually our launch project for a design organization approval as well. So together with this STC, we intend to become a DOA by end of next year's first quarter. And this system is basically using 3 cameras pointing forward to have an increased field of view on the nose of the helicopter. This is then fed through a computing box, which then sends the image of the situation in front of the pilot of the aircraft to the pilot, so that the pilot can avoid the traffic. One key aspect is the videos that I've shown that you've seen of our system operating. It was done with experimental equipment that can be bought, but it is not certified. This computing box, so the non-certified version used GPUs for off-the-shelf computers to run the neural network. This one, we've actually developed a line card that has an FPGA in it specifically for the AI applications. And this is also a product that we're selling together with all the required certification package for the 0254. So how does this visual traffic detection system works? Where does the neural network fit into this? So it's pretty straightforward. We have the camera that collects the images. Each of these frames is just pre-processed. This is just basic correction of contrast and brightness, and then split into 48 tiles of 512 pixels. And each of these tiles is then fed through the convolutional neural network that provides a positive or negative detection. So this result is specific to a single frame and has no consideration of time. We then use these detections over time through a Kalman filter to then create tracks that are then what we use to avoid the traffic. This allows us to filter out false positives, but also to avoid the false negative problem by detecting maybe on a 7-frame period, we detect 3 of them, so we can consider that as a track and we don't need to detect it consistently over time. So for certification specifically, so we've heard already Guillaume talking about this, and basically we're using the EASA guidance, the first usable guidance for level 1, which was built on the code and reports that are the result of the IPCs between EASA and Daedalean. And these first usable guidance was used as the means of compliance that we're using to certify our system. So we're doing these 2 STCs for the Part 23 and Part 27 systems together with FAA and EASA at the same time. This creates further complications, but we believe this is the right approach to ensure that the authorities move together in the same way. We've applied to the STCs some time ago. I think for Pilot Eye was about 3 years ago, and for Illumina Vista, it was 1 or 2 years ago. And we already have the certification review items and the issue papers approved by both authorities to use the first usable guidance for this application. And about, I think it was 3 weeks ago, we passed SOI 2 for the project, roughly a month ago. So we're pretty well advanced on our way to do this. Essentially, this means we're using DO178 and DO254 processes for the software and hardware components. And then we're using analog approaches to these processes for the machine learning constituents. So how does this work? So I wanted to, it's too much to give on a single presentation. So I just decided to talk about two or three different key aspects. Uh, First, focusing on development and post-ops explainability. So one of the important aspects of this is to understand the operational domain where our system is going to operate. So when people are buying our systems and putting it on their aircraft, we need to still believe that the system is going to work properly. So it is key for us to understand what kind of uh, targets do I need to detect? Where am I going to operate? Is my domain going to change depending on the seasons over the year? Is it different if my user is operating in Switzerland or if he's operating in Saudi Arabia? Like, how does that affect the performance of my system? So one of the key first things that we needed to do was to write up the operational domain and the operational design domain and list all the operating parameters that have a potential to affect our system. This is going to be helpful for us to understand what kind of data sets do we need to collect and do we need to use to improve our model. And it's going to help us see which ones have a better influence on the generalization of the model to areas where it wasn't tested on. So to go into what I just mentioned, the data completeness and representative, I just have some fancy graphics here. I'm not going to ask you to look at them in any detail, but these are just statistical analysis of the data sets that we have and the different types of aircraft that are on those images. So we have, for example, just here on here by class, you can see that we have different for gliders, airliners, parachutes, balloons, helicopters, fixed wing, drones, etc. And this allows us to see, is my data set representative of where I'm going to operate? Where do I have missing areas? What data do we need to collect? We have by not just luck, but good HR. We've hired someone that really likes to fly on glider competitions and balloon operations. And so we just told them, look, install cameras on your glider and your balloons and go and collect images. So now we have a huge data set just filled with gliders and balloons all over the place. So things like this that we need to do to improve our data sets, and this analysis allows us to look into this. The data recording regarding post-ops explainability. So this is a key objective for the first usable guidance. And on the first usable guidance, the objectives, at least for level 1, are mainly to support the monitoring of the systems in operation and also to support accident and incident investigation. Um, so the support of monitoring of systems in operation, this means, is my AI maybe behaving in a way that I just didn't catch? I failed during the development to properly analyze something. I didn't catch this. Now during operation, there's a problem. I need to know about it. That's why this is important. Plus, if urban air mobility really goes forward, we're going to have a lot of different targets in the air, and we maybe need to change how our model performs with those targets. This is true from the certification perspective to ensure that we have a safe product, but as a company, we need to continue to make money so that we can continue to exist. And collecting data from operation of our system is a key component. So it really is in everyone's best interest, ours as a business, as an authority, but the users as well, to ensure that there's future updates and future products that have increased features and safety. Getting there. So I mentioned this. So this is the continuous safety aspect. What happens if the user operates in a domain that it was just not accounted for? What happens if the traffic distribution changes? This is where this data pipeline comes into. Part of our certification deliverables are the data management plans, the data quality standards, all the process that we use to get new data and to annotate that data and how that data is used in the model that gets put into the end use system. These are key aspects to ensure the continuous safety during with the post-op explainability. I just wanted to close off the presentation with an example of something that where we've seen this happen during our research. So we had a trial run, I think it was in Rio with a potential customer. And one of the reports was that we were just detecting traffic cones on the tarmac and like what's happening? Why is a traffic cone being detected as a target? So our machine learning experts went into the data. They tried to figure out what was happening. And most of the images that we had collected before that we used to train the model were of a Robinson R44, which was just the target that we used to collect that data. And as you see, the rotor mast for that helicopter has just a triangular shape, very, very looking like a traffic cone. So what did we did? Well, we just fed it more data to correct for this problem. So thank you. That's all for me.